As Earth's air becomes toxic, survival depends on a remedy, a drug controlled by the powerful Etha Corporation. Ella, its spokesperson, promotes it despite her doubts. Meanwhile, independent scientist Solomon secretly develops an alternative cure. One day, Solomon discovers that an underground club is selling a drug similar to his formula. He swaps it with his own version to test it. Meanwhile, Ella, haunted by her mother's tragic death, prepares for another public appearance. Her boyfriend, Tully, hosts a party, but she refuses to attend. Unbeknownst to her, Tully is having an affair with her best friend, Gina. That night, he picks up a batch of illicit drugs, including a stolen vial from Solomon's lab. As Ella rides home, she decides to go to the party after all. While searching for Tully, she stumbles upon him and Gina. A confrontation erupts, causing Tully to drop the stolen vial. Impulsively, Ella drinks it. She soon feels strange, collapses in the bathroom, and wakes up disoriented. Meanwhile, resistance fighters linked to Solomon track the stolen vial to Tully's home. As he denies knowing where it is, Ella listens from the bathtub. When she confesses she drank the drug, he locks her in. Moments later, she escapes, revealing terrifying mutations. As she flees, Jenna arrives just in time to see Tully fall to his death. Mistakenly believing Ella killed him, Jenna reports her to the police. Solomon, also searching for Ella, tries to convince her to surrender, but she runs. She collapses in front of a car and is taken in by a stranger. As Ella's mutations worsen, she seeks refuge at a hospital, where security tries to detain her. She escapes, taking shelter with Gina, who still believes she killed Tully. Hunger overwhelms Ella, forcing her to devour raw meat from Jenna's fridge. Jenna eventually admits where Tully got the stolen drug. Meanwhile, Solomon contacts Ella, offering help, while Eric Ockners, Etha's lead scientist, orders an urgent hunt for her. At the same time, Eric's assassins track down Lazarus, the resistance leader, but find only an ominous warning against playing God. Back at Gina's, Ella abruptly announces that she no longer wants Gina in her life. Hurt, Gina returns a headset Ella had once gifted her. Eric updates his father, but the elder Ockners remains solely focused on the drug's progress. Elsewhere, Solomon's team finally captures Ella, taking her to his lab. From a distance, Jenna watches the abduction unfold, unaware that Eric's operatives are observing as well. Inside the lab, Ella is restrained to a chair, but she effortlessly snaps through the bindings with her razor-sharp spikes and grabs a nearby blade. Solomon remains unfazed, calmly explaining that her uncontrollable hunger is a direct result of her accelerated metabolism. Just as Solomon tries to reassure Ella about her transformation, police forces, tipped off by Gina, storm the facility. Both Ella and Solomon are taken into custody, and Ella is swiftly accused of Tully's murder. The police commissioner reports everything to Eric, who wastes no time intervening. While sitting in a holding cell, Ella notices a shocking development. One of her ears has completely fallen off, and something foreign is beginning to grow in its place. Horrified, she blames Solomon for turning her into a monster, but he calmly explains that humanity is on the brink of extinction. In the coming years, beings like her, mutants with enhanced traits, will be the ones who inherit the Earth. Eric arrives, and after witnessing Ella's mutations firsthand, takes custody of both her and Solomon. He assures Ella that he will find a cure and punish Solomon for his reckless experimentation. However, once inside their high-security research facility, his promises quickly unravel. Instead of seeking her father's help as he claimed, Eric subjects Ella to a battery of painful tests. The results reveal something startling. Her DNA contains non-human elements, a genetic anomaly that makes her unique. Meanwhile, Eric tortures Solomon, determined to extract the formula's secrets. Solomon refuses to give in, condemning Ethera's greed and the way the corporation decides who gets to live and who is left to die. Unmoved by his words, Eric orders his team to extract the formula from Ella, no matter the cost. As Ella drifts in and out of consciousness, her heightened senses pick up a hushed conversation behind a glass partition. Eric is speaking with his father, admitting that she likely won't survive the procedure. He also reveals that he never intended to involve her father, fearing the political consequences. Furious, Ella screams, alerting them that she has heard everything. Eric immediately orders her to be sedated with gas. His father, unimpressed by the complications, gives him just 2 days to resolve the situation. That evening, disguised as delivery workers, Solomon's allies infiltrate the facility. Meanwhile, 2 orderlies enter Ella's room, assuming she's unconscious. They prepare to administer a sedative, but Ella has already broken free from her restraints. In a swift and violent counterattack, she overpowers them, demanding to know Solomon's whereabouts before making her escape. As the alarm blares across the building, security launches a full-scale search. At the same time, Eric picks up his young son, Max, from the airport, only to be informed that Ella has escaped. Navigating through the facility, Ella locates Solomon's holding cell. She eliminates the guard and releases him. Solomon finally confesses the true nature of his research. He had been working on a permanent antidote meant to save all of humanity, but Adhera only intended to distribute it to the elite. Meanwhile, Eric entrusts his assistant Angela with looking after Max as he personally leads the hunt for the fugitives. Solomon and Ella make their way through a network of tunnels as their allies create a distraction, triggering a bomb threat that forces a partial evacuation. In response, Eric orders the entire facility to be flooded with gas to flush them out. Angela urges him to prioritize safety, forcing him to make a difficult decision. He reluctantly agrees to the evacuation but rushes to his office in search of Max. Meanwhile, Ella and Solomon reach Eric's lab, where Solomon makes a chilling discovery. Eric has been working on a parallel project attempting to fuse human DNA with that of a dragonfly, the only species immune to Earth's toxic atmosphere. However, instead of testing on animals, Eric has been experimenting on humans driven by urgency and corporate ambition. Despite everything, Solomon remarks that Ella remains beautiful even in her transformed state. He reveals that his ally, Lazarus, is ready to distribute the cure, but only to those who can access it. Before they can plan their next move, an explosion rocks the facility. Eric and Angela arrive at his office to find that Max is missing. Panicked, Eric arms himself and launches a desperate search. Meanwhile, Ella and Solomon regroup with their allies, but the gas rapidly fills the air. As they flee toward the garage, Ella's enhanced hearing picks up the sound of Eric approaching. Hiding in a restroom, she stumbles upon Max, terrified and alone. She gently reassures him, and in his innocent mind, he mistakes her for a fairy. With no choice but to take Max along, the fugitives attempt their escape. Eric catches up to them, aiming his weapon. Solomon and another ally manage to reach an elevator, while Ella, in a desperate move, threatens to kill Max using the sharp spike protruding from her arm. Unfazed, Eric fires anyway, willing to gamble with his son's life. In an astonishing feat, Ella leaps across a stairwell, soaring through a hail of gunfire before landing safely inside the elevator. Max, in tears, berates his father, insisting that the fairy was trying to help. Angela struggles to console him as chaos erupts throughout the facility. In the garage, the fugitives make a break for it in a courier van, but Eric's men pursue, firing relentlessly. The van crashes and flips, but when the guards rush in, they find only the drivers. Ella and Solomon have already escaped into the nearby forest. Smashing through a metal fence, they sprint along the top of a massive dam. However, Solomon suddenly falters, his strength failing him. He confesses that he too had taken a dose of the drug, but in a much smaller amount. Realizing he won't make it much further, he urges Ella to find Lazarus and deliver the final ingredient needed to complete the true antidote. With no time to hesitate, they share a final goodbye before Ella takes a daring leap off the dam, disappearing into the darkness. Eric captures Solomon once more, vowing to create another Ella. Meanwhile, back in the city, Jenna finds a package on her doorstep. Inside is the headset Ella had previously returned to her. Solomon's allies work tirelessly to expose the truth, revealing Adhera's sinister motto to the world: mutate or die. Finally, Ella reaches Lazarus only to discover an unexpected truth. Lazarus is none other than Angela, Eric's own assistant. She offers Ella a chance to work together, proposing a radical new path for humanity. Instead of fighting their mutations, they should embrace them as the only viable future for survival. The world now faces an ultimatum: adapt or perish.